If I was managing a home health agency today and I had to compete against the biggest agencies out there, there's one change I'd make. It would be a no-brainer to implement this one thing. I think I was a physical therapist for about a year before I started working as a home health PT on the side on the weekends. And one of the biggest things I struggled with is probably one of the biggest problems home health agencies and workers face as well, is there was just a lack of consistent training. Well, at least there was at the first place that I worked at. The second place that I worked at was totally different, and I'll share what they did differently in this video because I think a lot of small to mid-size home health groups, they struggle with this exact problem here, which is honestly why I left the first agency and ended up doing pretty well at the second one. And of course, every place has their own way of onboarding and welcoming in new therapists and nurses, but in the small home health group that I started at, it seemed like everyone had their own way of doing things. It's almost like the Wild West where you're just on your own, and it was up to you to figure out how to efficiently manage your home visits and your procedures. And if you were lucky enough to shadow someone for a day or so, you might pick up a few tips and tricks or even a few bad habits without knowing it. And this was definitely the case for patient care and even how you documented your treatment afterwards. Now, fast forward a year, and I found myself talking with a friend who worked at a larger agency that seemed to have a much better handle on onboarding and training and compliance, all education, all those things. And they were both home health agencies, but they sounded like completely different jobs, totally different experiences. So I took the opportunity to join the team, and to my surprise, one of the first things they gave me was a login for Medbridge. Now, I had been using Medbridge for a couple of years at that point, and I was very familiar with the platform for continuing education and home exercises, but the way they were using it at that point was just miles ahead of all of the other agencies that I knew of. There was just this consistency in areas like education and training because we all watched the same series of training videos for topics like OASIS intake and how to assess for falls or consistently use outcome measures for supporting our documentation. And I have to give a hand to Medbridge because they saw this issue way back then and how agencies and clinicians struggled with it. So they've developed the only tablet-first point-of-care skills resource for home health nurses and clinicians, and they call it the Clinical Procedure Manual, and it provides clinicians with in-the-moment training on the most common procedures we perform in our home health practice. And the thing that stands out the most to me is that they make this accessible everywhere for the clinician, even if you're in the patient's driveway and you need to reference a procedure or protocol last minute. It's like having a mentor right next to you on the field to give you the refresher you need to feel confident, but also provide the consistent and the safe treatment for your patients. Now, the second agency I worked for, they also provided access to the Medbridge Continuing Education Library, which I was already familiar with and I'd been using to complete my CEUs and to build my home exercise programs. And that's the same Medbridge plan that as an individual, you can get a $150 discount when you use the promo code PTProgress or visit medbridge.com/PTProgress where the discount applies automatically. And if you're an agency, you could actually get access for your entire team at a significantly discounted group price when you visit medbridge.com/PTProgress. Click on the button there and you'll see the plans for small and large businesses and the options available for you there. If I was managing a home health agency today and I had to compete against the biggest agencies out there, there's one change I'd make. It would be a no-brainer to implement this one thing. For home health agencies, there's a brand new product called the In-Home Essentials Plan. Just click the button here to show more plans, and you'll see the In-Home Essentials Plan that gives your agency the resources it needs to streamline training, improve competency, and honestly just improve the care and satisfaction with both your staff and their patients. You can think of the In-Home Essentials Plan as a way to take the guesswork out of what is required to be an excellent home health provider and to give your clinicians the resources they need to do their job well. Think of the In-Home Essentials Plan like this. At $140 per person, a small agency of even just 10 clinicians can completely revamp their entire onboarding and education resources and get on the same playing field as the largest home health agencies with hundreds of clinicians who are already using the same tools through Medbridge. You already know my experience was completely different between those two agencies, and my hope for you is that you see how much of a difference something like this could change your practice for the better. So take a look in the description for more details on how to get the best pricing available for you and your team by visiting medbridge.com/PTProgress. I'll see you there.